Hey everyone, it's Anthony Allen Ramos, and season three of Madagascar, A Little Wild, is now available on Hulu and Peacock. And in an episode called Whatever Floats Your Float, we're introduced to the series' first non-binary character, an Okapi called Odie, who is voiced by actor Ezra Menas.
It doesn't matter what we are, as long as we're proud of who we are. I'm so much more than what you see. Yeah, there isn't just one recipe. No. That's why you're you and why I'm me. So let's celebrate us. Let me see you all be proud. Yeah, singing out loud. Let me see you all be proud.
Hey Ezra, how are you?
Hi, I'm so well. How are you?
Doing well. Well, congratulations. I'm so excited that the world can finally get to meet Odie and see this episode. Season three is here. But, tell me about what this means to you personally, because I can only imagine for someone who is non-binary to be playing a non-binary character that is reaching so many people, especially kids. It's got to mean a lot to you.
Yeah, a lot of my work, I focus on the youth. I have a real connection to the youth. As a kid growing up, I didn't have access to the language of non-binary identities. And a lot of times I felt isolated in my experience as a young person who had a queer identity. So it means the world to me to be able to authentically represent non-binary identities through this non-binary character and give this gift of exploration and celebration of non-binary identities to queer youth, and not only queer youth, but to their families, to educate their families about it and show them that it's not something to be afraid of. It's something to embrace and celebrate and uplift.
Let's go back to you as maybe an 8 or a 10-year-old, or even, earlier. If you would have turned on your TV, that's before they had streaming, but if you would have turned on your TV and saw someone like Odie, what do you think that would have meant to you?
I think it would have meant the world to me as a kid, I think I would have felt less alone. I think I would have felt like I saw myself, like, oh my gosh, like this character is exploring themselves in this way, and it's not, they don't arrive somewhere, right, where they know exactly who they are and what label is what, but they know how they feel. And I think as young people, we have so many feelings. Our brains aren't even fully developed yet. We have big brains. We're soaking up everything, and to see Odie and see them celebrated and uplifted by their friends and their community and the willingness to explore themselves and all facets of themselves, I think that would have been just so validating and affirming, and I would have been able to have a conversation with, with language and with examples. So I think it would have been so important for me to have that as a kid.
I can only imagine how so many young people out there will feel when they see this character. So let's talk about this episode. So Odee the Okapi, which is so fun to say, by the way.
I know.
So this is one of the episodes in season three that just dropped. All the episodes are available on Hulu and Peacock. Kind of set up the story because it's a little bit like a pride parade. It's kind of like that theme. But this
Hmm.
episode, just for everyone out there, has been in the works for a very long time. It's something that GLAAD was hoping and dreaming that could be, and we're so excited that it is here. So kind of tell us how the episode goes.
Yeah, so we're at the rescue, and we are introduced to a new animal brought to the Central Park Zoo, or the rescue habitat. And we're leading up to the annual Animal Pride Parade, where we celebrate, every animal for being them. A hippo for being a hippo, a lion for being a lion. And Marty the zebra is Grand Marshal Marty. So it's Marty's, when they meet Odie, Odie doesn't even know what kind of animal they are to begin with. So Odie is like, oh my gosh, Odie is positivity personified, like just willingness to try anything new, excited, just ready to live life to the fullest. And Grand Marshal Marty doesn't know what to do, what kind of float to put Odie on, because he doesn't know what kind of animal Odie is. So we kind of see Marty urging Odie to try different floats to see, do you fit with a giraffe? So you kind of look like a zebra a little bit. Maybe you can go with the zebras. Maybe, well, why not? We can try the hedgehog float. You know, you might be a hedgehog in some way. And Odie, feels connected to all of these floats because Odie loves the quality of each animal. Odie can find something fun and embrace something about each animal. And as we go along, some trouble ensues, and well, you can see in the episode when you watch, but it ends up, while Marty is trying to figure out what animal Odie is, Marty ends up missing out on celebrating Odie for who they are as opposed to what they are, and that kind of takes us into the song. Like, Odie feels like it's less important about what kind of animal I am. The point is, I love to enjoy all of these things that all these different animals can do, and I kind of feel like every animal and no animal at the same time. So we really see a celebration of Odie for who they are, and Odie has that strong sense of self throughout. And through community, the celebration of Odie, they figure out that it's less important to put a label on it and more important to be proud of who you are.
That's so great. I love Odie so much. What do you know, thinking about the opportunity with a show like this for young people to watch, but also for families to watch it together and have conversations? What do you want families and people that see this episode and need Odie to take away from this episode?
It's a great question. I think ultimately, a willingness to learn about new things, a willingness to accept kids and believe kids, right? A lot of times we think kids are too young to know who they are. And in reality, if we just gave a little more trust, I think kids know exactly who they are. I think kids can feel it. They might not have the language that we have as our adult brains, but kids know deep down who they are. And so I think I want families to take away like trusting their children when they come to you with this kind of information about their identity, trusting that they know, and and being willing to learn with your kids along the way about them, um, and take away the celebration, really, just of celebrating people for who they are and
I
accepting
love
them for
that.
who they are.
And you know what? What a great message as we head into Pride Month. Celebrate who you are, no matter what. I was going to ask you, I got first introduced to you because of Jagged Little Pill, obviously
Yes.
Broadway, that epic, amazing production. And you do get to sing on this episode as well, which I love. So tell me a bit like what that was like. And I think the song is actually going to be available, right?
It is. Yes, it's available
Uh-huh.
on Spotify and Apple Music today.
Yay.
um, oh man, it was just so cool to like jam out and like just I love singing and I love dancing, so like to combine all of those things in celebration of who I am, that just like really gives me the full body chills, just to be able to celebrate who I am and spread that with fellow queer people, fellow trans people, fellow non-binary people. It's just such a beautiful thing for us to be able to celebrate ourselves when the world hasn't always celebrated us.
Were you dancing in the VO booth? Because I know it's real
Oh
gold.
yeah. Oh yeah, like can you feel it in the air? Can you let everything out? Yeah, like
I
just so many takes, like
love it.
doing all the voices and all the what? Come on! It was just like so cool, so cool. Dream
Now,
come
what
true.
was what was the voiceover experience? This kind of is a newer thing. I mean, obviously you've done so much in terms of music, but was the kind of just doing voice work a little different for you?
Very different. I mean, rehearsing for a Broadway show 8 times a week, you're rehearsing in that process to have pretty much the same product 8 times a week, right? And in the voiceover booth, it's like, well, first of all, it was just me. It was me and the voice directors and a lot of the creative team and no other actors, which was so wild because, the other actor's energy does matter. Like in a musical, at least, that's that you're with everybody else. So, to be in the booth alone, it was actually a really cool experience because I got to play, it was almost like improv. I got to play with so many different qualities of the character and really learn about the character and embody the character in a way that I don't know, I haven't felt before, and to to bring so much creativity and to bring just so many different versions of Odie and so many different layers of Odie to the room, into the booth. Oh, it was just like such a special experience. And that was encouraged, by the whole team. I could only do it because the team was so interested in authentic representation and yeah, supporting me. It was so great.
Well, that's so good to hear. I mentioned Jagged Little Pill, and you're in New York, and there's some hope at the end of the tunnel. Broadway is coming back. We know that's going to happen. How are you? What's the vibe? With the Broadway community, are people getting excited? Do you know if what you're gonna do yet, or are people just kind of getting back in the swing of things?
Yeah, it's a big question, right? Because there's so much that goes into it, and I think what's been really important over the last year, I mean, sadly, we've lost a lot of lives over this pandemic, and so I wish that it wasn't at the expense of that, but I think the last year has really made people interrogate a lot of their internal biases, and I'm hoping that when Broadway comes back that it's a stronger Broadway built to truly include, the most marginalized of our communities, because I think that's really what we need to see. And I think that's what this show, Madagascar, A Little Wild, does so well, uh, is having that authentic representation and allowing communities who don't normally see themselves in the mainstream to see themselves.
Mhm.
And so I hope the same for Broadway, really. I hope that it's a truly inclusive place and a safe place for folks of all different marginalizations.
I could not agree and hopeful for that too. And then, next up, I don't know how much you can share, but West Side Story is happening, which is
It
huge.
is.
I mean, I am like so excited for that big screen film. So is there any little tidbits you can share about your role or your participation in that?
I mean, just that it was the most exciting, fulfilling, wonderful experience I've had a part of my career. It was just so special to work with Steven Spielberg, Tony Kushner. I mean,
Ah,
everyone on that team was just so wonderful. And I'm so excited for everyone to finally get to meet anybody's because, I, of course, can only infuse my characters with my personal experience. And I feel that that's what I've done with this character. And I'm so, so thrilled.
that is going to be so exciting and so huge for the queer community. And I actually, before I let you go, thinking of Pride Month, we've been really focusing on having some very important conversations around pronouns. And
Mhm.
I think as we head into Pride Month, it's important to have these conversations. So for you, what are the pronouns that you use? And tell me a little bit about how you kind of came to that decision.
Yeah. So I first started using they, them pronouns, let's see, almost 6 years ago now when I came to understand that I was non-binary. And then I actually added he, him pronouns. And that for a while felt okay, in certain spaces. I was like, okay, trying it out. And I finally landed just in the last few months, really, on Z here and they, them pronouns. And Z here pronouns are neo pronouns. They're, not tied societally to any preconceived idea of gender. So, like, obviously, when we use she, her, or he, him pronouns, we usually assign a binary gender to those pronouns. So it really felt for me, I'm outside of the binary, and to me, he, him, and she, her pronouns do not indicate binary gender because I'm non-binary, and if I use those pronouns are non-binary too. But it just felt like I was moving toward I had just seen other people in my life express themselves similar to me, and I was like, you know what? That those pronouns give me euphoria, and so I was like, I'm gonna lean into that and try them out. And I think it's an everlasting journey. I don't. Some people do, end up with certain pronouns, and that's that. But I think we should have a little bit more fluidity in like trying different pronouns throughout our lives because as humans, we're always changing and why shouldn't our pronouns be allowed to change with us, and support who we are right now? So that's how I arrived there and my pronouns bring me euphoria and I feel seen and heard and validated and accepted when I hear them and I want kids to feel that same thing, you know? I want everyone to feel that same thing.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think it's so interesting and important. I was thinking back on last week when someone like Demi Lovato says, my pronouns are they, them, that is what I'm using moving forward. I even in my everyday life, my hairdresser was like, so what does that mean? And tell me what a little bit. And I was like, that's great to be having these conversations. And, the more that people understand that, the more that young people, like you said, will feel empowered to
Mhm.
use the pronouns that give them euphoria, like you. So,
So true. So
yeah.
true.
And that all will bring us back to Madagascar, a little wild, so great. Congratulations. And just a reminder, everyone, season 3 of Madagascar, a little wild is available to stream now on Hulu and Peacock. And don't forget, Odee the Okapi makes their debut. So it is a great episode. So definitely check it out.